Have you ever been scrolling through your feed and you notice someone well, they're basically invisible? There are no new photos, no big life updates, definitely no celebrations. And in a world that pretty much screams for constant attention, these people can feel like a total mystery. But what if their silence isn't just random? What if their digital invisibility actually reveals something really profound about their confidence and their whole mindset? Okay, let's get into it.
So that's the big question we're tackling here. We usually just assume that not posting online is kind of weird, right? Maybe even a little antisocial. But the psychology behind this choice is so much more fascinating than that. It actually challenges the whole idea that we have to share our lives publicly just to feel like they matter.
All right, so to really get why some people stay quiet, we first have to understand why so many of us are so loud online. A lot of the time, that drive to share everything, from our morning coffee to our biggest wins, it's really rooted in this very human need for external approval. We're looking for that validation hit from likes, comments, and shares.
And what's really interesting here is how this breaks down two completely different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got the person who's seeking validation, where their good feelings are literally tied to how people react online. But on the other side, you've got someone whose sense of peace is not up for public debate. They find that validation inside themselves, not from the notifications buzzing on their phone.
This brings us to a really key psychological concept, social comparison theory. It's basically the idea that we're always, constantly, measuring our own lives against the perfectly polished highlight reels everyone else is posting online. You know the feeling, right? You see someone's perfect vacation photo and bam, suddenly your own life feels a little less than, even if you were totally happy just a minute ago. It's a game that is almost impossible to win.
And that's the trap right there. This endless cycle doesn't just make us feel bad in the moment, it can create this constant, low-level hum of anxiety, a feeling that you're always falling behind. Honestly, it's just an exhausting way to live.
But this is where we find the alternative. You could almost call it a psychological superpower, self-validation. This isn't just about being quiet, it's about drawing your sense of worth from a much more stable and reliable source, yourself. Now, the engine behind this superpower is a trait that psychologists call an internal locus of evaluation. I know, it's a fancy term, but it's just a way of saying that you are your own judge. Your sense of achievement and your value, it's based on your own internal scorecard, not on what other people think or say.
So people who operate this way, they tend to share a few key traits that all kind of feed into each other. They really value their privacy, and that comes from a strong self-awareness. They know exactly who they are and what they stand for. This creates a really secure self-esteem that doesn't need outside fuel, which lets them be these deep, introspective thinkers instead of just public performers.
And that all just boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful idea. For them, happiness is an inside job. It doesn't go up and down based on the algorithm or how many likes a post gets. It's steady. It's consistent. Because it comes from a place of real inner security. This brings us to a really critical distinction. It's a choice, really. Are you spending your energy performing your life for an online audience? Or are you actually present and living it for yourself?
This slide really highlights the two different paths we can take. One path is totally focused on the distorted reality of social media, where you're constantly curating and perfecting an image. But the other path? That one prioritizes what's actually real, authentic conversations, tangible goals, and experiences that don't need a filter to be meaningful.
So here's the crucial point. People who stay quiet online, they often do it on purpose. It's not that they think social media is bad or anything, but they understand what it is. It's a curated performance. And they consciously make the choice to step off that stage because they'd rather have their own inner peace.
And all of this leads to a really powerful conclusion. In our super hyper-visible world, choosing privacy and choosing to be quiet isn't a sign of insecurity. In fact, it's one of the ultimate forms of self-assurance.
So let's just bust that common myth right here and now. The person who rarely posts isn't necessarily shy or antisocial. They are much more likely to be grounded, focused, and emotionally intelligent enough to know what actually matters to them.
And that's exactly why you won't see them constantly posting selfies just to prove they're worthy. I mean, why would they need to? When you already feel complete on the inside, you have absolutely no need to go looking for proof from the outside world.
And that right there is the real takeaway. True confidence is knowing your value isn't determined by your visibility. It's that quiet, powerful understanding that you don't need to be seen by everyone to truly feel seen by the people who matter, starting with yourself.